Michigan State responds to everything that happened Saturday after the game. And then, another lesson learned on how these two programs are different. And then John Kirby of the Only Podcast, he joins to talk. Well, did the staff do enough on Saturday? And, oh, yeah, that's right, another basketball exhibition game. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans. It's your team in green and white 5 days a week. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below how you are feeling about the trajectory of this season after a tough defeat. We got another tough game coming up this Saturday, but all things considered, well, how are you feeling about it? Because that's also going to pop up later on in this conversation. John Kirby is going to join us for segments 2 and 3. Going to tidy up all thoughts from Saturday's game. Going to look just a little bit at this exhibition against Ferris State going on Tuesday night. But first, you know what? Let's just talk about what happened at the press conferences today, because we didn't spend a lot of time on this in the postgame show for many reasons. The first is that no one's going to change anyone's mind about what happened after the game on Saturday. But, of course, it's something that bleeds over. Once the videos that you see of what happened with Khalil Mullings happened, well, it's worth talking about, and they certainly talked about it at the press conference today. First we'll hear from is Jonathan Smith. He says Michigan State had a player and staff member in the pile where Michigan running back Khalil Mullings was caught on video stomping. That is something the Big Ten will be examining, he adds. That is a tweet from Chris Solari. And then also, hey, our select director, Alan Haller, he spoke too. Of course, not a common thing on Mondays, but when something like that happens, yeah, you want to hear the AD talk. And he was asked if he's going to approach the Washtenaw County prosecutor about pressing charges. Like famously 2 years ago, Eli Savin and company were stumbling over each other to get to the keyboard so they could just write up whatever charge they wanted to for the 7 kids that were in the tunnel right there. Just could not get there fast enough to just dig it to the Spartans. Now, Alan Haller, a little more cordial. He said, I don't plan on doing that. I don't think that situation should have been a criminal incident, and I don't think this should be as well. Goes on to say that it's a sportsmanship incident, but he let the Big Ten know how he feels, and there are some mixed feelings about that. Did Jonathan Smith and Alan Haller do enough? Quite frankly, I think so. I don't know what you want Alan Haller to do other than drive to Tony Petitti's house, the Big Ten commissioner, and threaten him with a knife or something like that, but look, 2 years ago, I was one of the people, maybe you were too, that clowned Jim Harbaugh and then Ward Manuel, who crawled out of his cave to finally approach the media to make sure that every single player on Michigan State's roster was going to do prison time after that game. They were tripping over themselves to get to that podium. Hey, clown them for that. That was incredibly awkward, embarrassing, but also the Michigan way. So I'm not going to, slander Haller for not doing that. All right? Sure. Maybe you're not happy that he just, wrote a strongly written letter to the Big Ten. I think it's a little more than that. They're going to let the investigation play out, and hopefully this one doesn't take as long as the one that's going on in Central Michigan. Maybe we got actually people that want to do work over here with this investigation. But herein lies the difference between the two programs, of course. We're talking the fan bases. We're talking how they cover. We're talking how they handle things because, on Sunday night, I was curious. I had a long day of travel. I really was not on my phone. And then later at night, I said, anything else happen with this Mullings thing? Because we all saw the video. He's in the middle of this scrum. He's at very least aggressive, looking down, doing something to someone on the ground, so much so that other players and staff members are pulling him away as almost in a way of like, hey, whoa, man, you got to chill out. You got to cool it down. Pretty clear as day that, he was in the run. And on top of all that, and I know that there's some Michigan fans that want to pose it as, someone instigated him. Really? Because he ran 25 yards down the field to get to the middle of this pile. He left one skirmish to go to the other one. And we're not even going to split hairs over the other one, the one between Anthony Jones and then Colston Loveland. Who cares? No one's going to change anyone's mind on that. I'm going to believe, what I saw because I have functioning eyeballs. And, of course, I'm a Michigan State fan. So, no, I don't think that there was a lot of wrong done by Anthony Jones. He was the one that got headbutted. And Michigan fans live in their own fantasy where Jones was the instigator and he did all the headbutting and Colston was just sharing early happy Thanksgiving wishes or something like that. Whatever they want to believe. What we're talking about is the Mullins video. Indisputably something wrong that happened on the field, something that the Big Ten is taking up right now, and anyone with at least half a brain cell can understand that, oh, that's probably a little too far. So again, not the headbutts, not the, hey, did a coach push someone? No, we're talking about concretely what you saw. And this is where it gets alarming, because we posted that video. And I don't mean to drag everything from Twitter onto here, but when I get 50 plus people say, what are you talking about, clear as day? Mullins isn't doing anything wrong. What do you think he's doing with his legs stopping up and down, like going to a country hoedown? Is he trying to kill a pet spider that all the teammates are so concerned about? That's why they're like, you got to grow up. You got to just join us in reality. But that's what makes it so hard with this discussion whenever this happens, is that one fan base is just, and not all of them, I got to disclaim it with this, not all of them, but certainly a larger number than you would think, are just detached from reality completely. Seeing the Mullins video and thinking that, oh, he's not doing anything wrong, in what galaxy can you even come up with that conclusion? It's crazy, but here's how that happens. That delusion. It's how they're covered. Because you know what? 2 years ago, after the tunnel, something horrible, okay? Michigan State, they had players suspended almost immediately. A lot of Michigan State fans, myself included, said, yeah, punishments are probably necessary. I'll be shocked if Kari Crump ever sees the field ever again here at Michigan State. 2 years ago, suspensions immediately. All right, by Sunday night, at least 4 players were suspended. Charges were filed. Again, they were just tripping over themselves to get that ball rolling. And hey, articles and columns were written about it, how it was a bad look for Michigan State. And I called that out. Said, where's the story about how bad this was on Free Press, Detroit News, or MLive? The media in the state, or as I like to call it, state media now for the University of Michigan. And Graham Couch, friend of the show. I love Graham Couch. Absolutely respect the hell out of him. Like, I need to make that abundantly clear. As he does, because he's in the industry. Who can fault him for this? He called me out. He said, look, hey, they don't do the press conferences until Monday. Press conferences for both programs are tomorrow, is what he wrote. Let's see what emerges. Give it a second to see what's out there. Don't gaslight the MSU fan base. Fair. Okay, fine. But we didn't need press conferences to already call them out. I know I didn't. After the whole tunnel incident, that Monday show, I'm saying, you know what? Kari Crump suspended for the rest of the season. I'd be shocked if he ever comes back here to Michigan State. All right, Mike Valenti, who a lot of you guys think is a blowhard on 97.1, he was the first to say maybe, yeah, he should be kicked out of the school. And then there was a column written by Graham Couch himself, and I'm not saying this as a gotcha. I'm actually throwing Graham a bone that, hey, he didn't have to wait until a press conference for anything to happen. He wrote a column that night, Fight in Tunnel Feeds Perception, Spartans Are Unraveling. Which was true. You can opine on things even without a press conference. Like, you're not going to see that, though, from any Michigan columnist, anyone that runs any of the big message boards over there. Sure, they cried about every single thing that happened 2 years ago, and rightfully so. It was not good. But even 2 years later, before kickoff, you have one of the biggest message board writers out there talking about how insane it was and how unprovoked it was and senseless. And then, well, where's the outcry here? That's strange. Anyway, let's talk about this press conference, because one did happen Monday in Ann Arbor, just like it did in East Lansing. Sherrone Moore opened up, short statement, just said it can't happen. Said that's not what we do here at Michigan, except for every time something like this happens. And then he also just said that's all answer on that. Now, Tony Garcia of the Free Press, a Michigan State grad, he sticks out like a sore thumb in that room, not because he went to Michigan State, but he did not bow down to Sherrone Moore like every single person in that media room does. He didn't just back down. He actually asked, hey, you know what? Did you see the video of the stomping of Mullins? Sherrone Moore, all that he offered up was no, I didn't. How's that possible? Anyone with an internet connection that's even tangibly related to this rivalry has seen the video. And then he was asked about suspensions and just said, we'll take care of it in-house. After Tony's 2 questions, well, the maize and blue season ticket holders, a.k.a. the media, they didn't press them on it any further. And that's how you get to this point. They're not held under the same realm of accountability as Michigan State ever is. And this is what happens. One school gets treated, well, with accountability. They're slandered when they deserve it, which has happened here at Michigan State. The other one, well, they could just go skipping through the daisies. So I wonder, where were those columns? Where are the top message board people, claiming that Jamon Green lost out on millions of dollars a few years ago for these senseless acts? Okay, surely you're going to get fired up about this one then, because that didn't, at best, whoever was at the bottom of that pile got just a little roughed up. I hope everyone is doing okay. Or, you know what? Maybe you guys just don't care. No, that can't be. Maybe you just don't care, just like how you guys just prance into Schembechler Hall every day and never wondering why is it named after this guy that allegedly, helped Dr. Robert Anderson assault many of his players. You guys don't have a lot of comments about that. Not a lot of columns about that. Do you guys just not care? Because, well, imagine if Michigan State fans held a rally to keep a building named after Leanna K. Simon during the whole Nassar situation. You don't think that would look a little strange? Kind of like how you guys did for Earl Schembechler back then? No? Or, you know what, maybe you guys just don't care like the Matt Weiss computer access crimes. Not going to dig into that any further. Nope, not the Michigan brass. No, we're just, computer crimes can mean anything. We're not going to go any further on it. That's right. Or, why is Mozzie Smith going 65 and a 25 with bullets rolling around in his back seat? You guys let that go for over a month before charges were even filed. And let me guess, I think you knew about it. Because I knew about it. And I don't even get in the Michigan waters. That information was just offered to me a few weeks before the charges were filed. I know you guys had it. You guys could have written about it. But conveniently, no one checks on them. No one. Because, well, that wouldn't get in their press box Hall of Fame. Which is something they do have. Which is incredibly weird. And I'm here to tell you, I'm not trolling. I'm just here to state more facts. That's not normal. Having a press box Hall of Fame for your most cooperative little gremlins in there, that's not normal. Like, you're supposed to be held to accountability, but you're not. And that's how you get a lot of Michigan fans watching the Mullins video and thinking, oh, well, nothing wrong happened. Oh, you can't prove that he was stomping on you. What were his legs doing? What was he doing? Why was he getting pulled off the pile? Like, join us in reality here. Anyway, we're going to be joined by John Kirby here in a hot second, but first need to talk your ears off about Roy. Hey, Locked On Spartans fans, it's time to recognize the Roy Player of the Week. So far this season, we've pooled over $20,000 to support players on Roy. Micro deposits lead to massive change, and with the Roy app, you can direct your support to the athletes you love, ensuring that all funds go to the specific player you choose. Unlike collectives, you know exactly where your support is going, and you even receive exclusive content like personal videos and updates after the season. The best part is risk-free. If the athlete transfers or doesn't deliver the content, you get your money back. This week, we are supporting Nate Carter. I just pitched him $100, and I would love for you to join me. Even $10 makes a difference. Let's show Nate Carter the love after his great game on Saturday that, hey, you know what? Stay connected to our school. And remember, guys, pay today, celebrate tomorrow. Your support sets the team up for success. Plus, don't miss out on Roy's exciting giveaway. Win 2 tickets to a game in November. Just download Roy, create an account, and use referral code LOCKEDON, and you are already entered. If you're already on Roy, any contribution to an athlete's campaign also gets you entered automatically. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Download Roy right now and join the NIL game with no subscriptions and no fees. And be sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Roy_return_on_you for more info. Roy, support players, change the game. Guys, Team Ticker, the greatest sign out there to add to your man cave, your kitchen, your bathroom, your garage, wherever you need a Team Ticker sign. Well, it's going to look great there. Now, right now, hey, it's a road game for me. I don't have my Team Ticker sign like I usually do at my home studio. But what it is, 2 foot by 1.5 foot retro looking board. It gives you the countdown to kickoff and about a gazillion other things. It gives you weather forecasts for the upcoming game. It gives you schedules, gives you stats, gives you fun facts. This thing is a countdown clock on steroids, and it also looks great because Michigan State fans, we're actually pretty lucky. We get 2 choices, either the old Michigan State logo, the one that you see on all the helmets every Saturday, or the Sparty logo. That's the one I went with. It looks fantastic. We get so many compliments on it from all you great viewers out there. So, guys, especially with the holiday season coming up, hook up the Spartan in your life with a Team Ticker sign over at teamticker.com. And, well, save yourself some money, too. Use code LOCKEDON for a whopping $50 off your purchase. That's all one word, Locked On, over at teamticker.com. Again, guys, promo code LOCKEDON for $50 off at teamticker.com. John Kirby from The Only Podcast now joining us. First of all, John, thanks a lot for offering us some of your time. Especially, like 48 hours, not too fun of an event. But let's just start right there. We have almost 48-hour ruled it.
Yep.
Are we recovered? Does it still hurt? What hurts the most? Just because like any well-adjusted adult, I'm still a little salty about it. But floor is yours. You're a little more normal than I am. So how are we feeling?
Debatable. I think. Thanks for having me. I think
you're the best.
You're never if you're a fan that is. as hardcore as someone who would listen to Locked On 5 days a week, you're going to hurt.
Sick people. Yeah.
And you should hurt because the lows are low means the highs are high. Okay. At the same time, I would say you're never going to get over it. And that's good because that's going to make you care. And it's going to feel that much better next year when Michigan State wins this game.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go.
And I don't just say that, and we don't know the rosters. We don't know anything like that. But we saw two teams, mid teams. One allegedly won the national championship last year. The other bottomed out worse than we've ever seen our program. It's not just the eye test. It's the stats that'll tell us that it was an exactly evenly matched team. At an environment, and I'll give Michigan credit, that was a loud environment for them. That was something that I didn't know what they had in them. So kudos to them to getting up for this game, and kudos to their coaches for coaching like it was a game they had to win, because it was. That was a must win. That was fire you on Monday if you get blown out in this game. They're seriously, they want him gone.
They would not have been happy. No, because they also would have missed out on a bowl game most likely too. Like that, you really could have put the dagger in all the way through the body if you won. But
and you're always going to wonder how great that would be. But
yeah, here we are.
To the question that how are we doing? You got to compartmentalize it and you got to move on because it's a long season. And the thing that people are disappointed about is that this game became a winnable very recently.
Yes.
Whereas at the beginning of the season, it did not feel that way.
Not quite, right?
So, I would also say we're still, as a program, like you can get upset in the really short term, but I would also take a huge step back and say, did the staff learn something from this? If you look at the podium, the media conference today, it would appear he did. And I think it maybe even you can give a little grace in that you don't understand this rivalry until you live it, until you've been disrespected, until you've been called little brother, until you've been told you're stupid because you were there. Until you truly are disrespected, you don't get to play the disrespect card until you've been disrespected. Well, that has happened.
Yeah, so, and you see what happened at the end of the game, just the reality of that be warped completely to one side, as it always is. Of course he's been part of rivalry games, Washington State, Oregon State, of course. But like this isn't one of these fun little, hey, let's all get together games. Oh, we give it a nickname like the Apple Cup, and we all share the same stadium every year like the Red River Shootout. No, this is a legitimate hateful rivalry, and it always will be. So, welcome, Jonathan Smith. Welcome.
That's right. Maybe you need to get a bloody lip to get the understanding of this situation. So,
I was going to save this for the very end, John. I have a solution that could fix a lot of like this rivalry's issues, I think. And it's going to sound like I'm kidding. It's going to sound like I'm doing a bit right now, but I say this with somewhat sincerity. At the end of every Michigan State game, I think 30 seconds should be put on the clock. Everyone's equipment has to stay on. We're not going to go over the edge like Kari Crump. But I think both teams just get 30 minutes or 30 seconds to just wail on each other and just get it all out of the system. That way, it's sanctioned. We all know what's going to happen. No, they did this, they did that. No, everyone takes their own side. It's the purge for 30 seconds on the field. All right? No weapons, just your hands. All right?
Man.
Go ahead and top me off that ledge, John.
I'll tell you, the game that we watched, I will say, didn't feel out of control. I've seen games that felt out of control.
100%.
This 100%. One was seen pretty clean
all
the way through until, unfortunately, the end, which, hopefully will get cleaned up and we can understand and there will be accountability. But as you mentioned, it is a little bit of a double standard, and that is going to also potentially fuel Jonathan Smith's understanding of the rivalry, right? So
yeah, I would say so. So I'm going to go back to the quote that Jonathan Smith had at the podium today. When it comes to understanding the rivalry, it's a little long, so bear with me, everyone. But it's a quote, an emotional, important game. I think for me, it kind of crystallized Saturday night, leading into it. Knew it was important, rivalry, emotion, you're going, but now truly experiencing it for the first time, that thing is different. That thing is important. That's why it's so frustrating to feel like we could have done a few things better. You have to move on to next week and whatnot. But after experiencing that sucker, I will not forget that thing. So this goes into a mailbag question we got. Of course, Sheehan_sports if you ever have any mailbag questions. Upper Decker Jerk Guy wrote in, Smith says he won't forget the rivalry and was surprised by it. Will he ever truly, quote unquote, get it? My short answer is yes. Because even as even-keeled as he is, like he's always at a 5 tops. How you have to walk away with a concrete understanding of what this rivalry truly means and the amount of hate that goes into it. So yes, I think especially being between those lines, you learn very quickly. So I think he does, quote unquote, get it, Kirby. What say you?
He gets it more than he did before. You know, how much of getting something do you need to before that has diminishing returns and you start to coach or play in a way that is actually detrimental to the team because you're blinded by rage, right? So I think it's a great step forward. He also gets to experience 365 days of being thrown in his face.
Yeah.
And that's a fact, right? And that's not going to feel good. So he's going to do it on the recruiting trail. He's going to be told left, right, and in between all about this rivalry. And that is where you start to learn. I think living in the state, I'm removed from the state, but it's night and day. You go in there.
Good for you.
You guys got to live it. You can't hide from it, right? And so I think living it for a whole year also changes things too. And keep in mind, that Michigan staff, Sharon Moore, he understands the rivalry. He understands, and they coached like it. They coached like they understood the rivalry. The desperation, the gadgets, the all hands on deck, empty the playbook bucket. We need to win this game. Michigan State played a very thoughtful scheme, a thoughtful game plan. It was working until it didn't. And there was no, we're using this play against Michigan and it's going to work. There was nothing set up at the beginning of the season where you work on a play and we're going to bust this out. And this is going to score when we need it against Michigan or if we have to have it. It wasn't there. And we know how I know that? Another trip, however many trips in the red zone without knowing what to do. So that needs to be figured out, but now you understand, he or they, or you hopefully understand that this is a year-long preparation for this game. It's not a week. 365 days of preparation.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets in. Guys, I was a very happy camper over the weekend. Placed a nice $5 bet on NFL Sunday. And you know what we did? Hey, Tucker Kraft to score a touchdown. Darnell Mooney to score a touchdown. Marvin Harrison Jr. to score a touchdown. And then Sam Laporta and David Montgomery. And guys, that paid out a lot more than $5. All right, so hop on over to FanDuel. Go ahead and make a touchdown parlay this upcoming Sunday. And, you can find a glimmer of happiness in a weekend, even if your favorite college team loses, right there over at FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You will get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's over at FanDuel.com. God, the red zone thing, because, look, the big point that I had after the game was that I think it came down to the coaching staff here. Yeah, sure, the penalties were not good. The false start at the end of the game to make it 2nd and 12, not great. The intentional grounding, wasn't a big fan of that. The fumble before halftime, I don't think they coached that. And there were some good things that the coaching staff did, John, right? Like, you know what? Like, they did have this team ready. Like, just a blind resume if both were wearing just white jerseys. You had to guess which one was the more fired up with a coach that has actually been in this rivalry. You would have guessed Michigan State. They put the foot on the gas early. Like, they doubled what Michigan gives up on the ground. Like, and again, like, the coaches didn't fumble. They don't do the false start. But, John, here's the issue here. Just like you said, the red zone, not just play calling, they didn't know what to do, but they didn't call the timeout in that 4th and 2. They went into halftime with 2 timeouts. And when Smith was asked about it during the game, it didn't even seem like a thing like, oh, you know what, just got away from us. We didn't mean to. It seemed like he knew the clock was going to hit 0 and was content taking the field goal anyway, which, of course, they missed. But even if he made the field goal, like, let's go. It's statement time. It's time to put the foot on the gas, Johnny. Like, we gotta try to score a touchdown here. But let's also talk about, the play calling too, because yes, the run game worked. That's indisputable. But what also didn't they do on top of the run game? Well, they didn't have any play action passes. It was a season low play action attempts that Saturday. 7 on the season. Michigan State hasn't had that few all season. They were also low on deep shots. They only had 6 passes that were 10 plus yards, 0 pass attempts that were 20 plus yards. That's against a team that was missing Will Johnson. I get that you're making hay on the ground. That's great and everything, but to set nothing up, are you saving it for next year's game? Like that's what really chapped my what is like. That's what they did so good of building upon. Even when the run game sucked this year, John, they at least went to the play action. Hey, run game's working great. Everyone's going to sell out for Nathan Carter, who's having the game of his life right now. And oh my God, I need to mute my mic and just scream.
Yeah, it's a question that is very valid. Are we handing the keys to Aiden Childs or are we not? Because you can't do 7 games or 6 games, whatever we've played, handing him the keys to the Lambo and saying drive as fast as you want, and then handcuff him and say, now hold on, we're not going to press down the field. You're going to make sure we can hold you accountable and limit your decision making. No, it's one or the other, and it was kind of surprising to see that. And candidly, I think that's a mistake. Maybe it wasn't a mistake. They feel like that was the right thing to do. I'll tell you right now, you're not going to beat Indiana. Not using the best athletes you have, right? We had the best athlete on the field. Nick Marsh was underutilized, as we all know.
Yes.
And Aiden Childs, you could argue, was underutilized. You got to take the good with the bad with the good. And you miss out on all the good, though.
It was almost to the point where I'm wondering, after reading all the stats too, because I had to make sure my eyes saw, on the box score what they saw on Saturday during the game. It's like that few play actions, that few deep shots. He only had 3 designed runs for him. It's like, is there an injury going on here? I'm certainly not reporting that. I haven't even heard that whisper from anyone. But it's just like on paper, what that was just so weird because just like you said, John, he was whipping the Lambo around the last few weeks, especially. It's like, why don't we just pull into a school zone and just take it 25 miles an hour? Whatever, man. It's just Lieutenant Bishop writes in another good question too, and this will give us, that big P word, perspective. All right. Now that you've had a few days to sit on it, how do you feel about the overall trajectory of the program, or are you ready to fire Smith and company out of a cannon like half the fan base? Certainly, I'm not one of these people. I love the hire from the beginning. I still like him. Yes, that was a horrible gaffe he had with the timeout. The game plan wasn't great like we just talked about, but overall, I still like Jonathan Smith. I even like how he, acted after the game too. Some people were upset that he didn't act pissed off enough. Look, that's who he is. He's authentic. He's a steady hand in this program. Well, you need a steady hand in a rebuild. So I didn't hate him for that. Okay.
Football is so fun because it is so reactionary week to week. I would ask everyone to take a half step or maybe full step back and say, Labor Day weekend, you watched that team play Florida Atlantic, and it was bad. It was bad.
I was ready to fire Lindgren right there and then, John. It was not a proud moment of mine, but
Florida Atlantic is still not good, in case anyone's wondering.
They are terrible. They're really bad.
Think about how much better Michigan State had got from week 1 to this past week.
Yeah.
You could argue it's not good enough, but I'll tell you what we have seen is the team has gotten markedly better every single week.
That is true.
And so if that continues, that trajectory continues through this season, you can feel really good about the fact that, okay, now you're going to provide this guy the opportunity for a year's long worth of getting the team he wants, which is not just high school. The transfer portal, we got to see how that plays out, right?
Yep, of course.
But all things equal, if you have a coach that is going to make your team get better every week, week over week, I don't know how many other coaches in the country really do that. I mean, there certainly are going to be letdown games, absolutely. But that's all you can really ask for, is to get better and to stop making the same silly mistakes. Remember the penalties at the beginning of the year? They're so egregious.
Yep.
The turnovers, certainly less backbreaking, as there are fewer backbreaking. And so there is market improvement. And you could argue even the Michigan, the fumble, Aiden had against Michigan. Aiden was the only person in the entire world who didn't know he was going to fumble because no one has ever caught him from behind, in that manner. So, that's a learning experience, right? That can happen to you, but it's the same type of turnovers he was having in week 1 and week 2, right? So
sure.
Improvement, it's never going to be fast enough, but you have 4 more weeks to decide for yourself and measure back, did they get better? And if the answer continues to be yes, then you got to keep see how high the ceiling keeps going.
Dare I say keep chopping? No, I'm going to edit that part out. No, that's in the past. I'm sorry. That was unfair. Look, you know what? From one improving program to hopefully another, let's talk about this basketball exhibition. Catch the fever, everyone. Big Ten Network Plus.
Let's go.
Get your wallets out for a broadcast that may or may not have the camera on the ball the entire game. We'll see. All right, here's a 30-minute breakdown of Ferris State University. Get ready for this one. We have all the Torvik numbers, the Ken Pom numbers. They went 28-8 last year. They lost their top 2 guys. They're led by 2 guards. One's a 5'11" transfer from St. Clair County Community College. Tyler Hamilton, another 6-foot senior. Ethan Erickson. He shoots 44% from 3. I guess it's a good matchup for Fears and Jace Richardson, I guess. And Marcus Bingham's younger brother's on the team. How fun is that? Who cares? What do you want to see in this exhibition? Just other than everyone's limbs staying on their body for 40 minutes?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, that Ferris State, a decent basketball school. They won the national championship in 2021 and 2022.
They are strong. Yeah.
Okay. Division II national champion. That doesn't mean that they should compete with Michigan State, but it certainly doesn't mean that they are by any means pushovers. What you want to see here is kind of the same that we saw in Northern Michigan. They need to dominate the glass, right? What I need to see more is more than 70 points. Because if you're putting 70 points on a Division II teams, then what are we doing? So, so I think that's first and foremost. It's obvious we're going to want to see certain people show up, and the person that is of most interest to me continues to be Frankie Fiddler. Where is he the new Tyson Walker? And no one is going to be Tyson Walker, but who's taking the end of shot clock shots? Who is the guy that they're on a 6-0, 8-0 run? We need a bucket.
Yeah.
Who's that? Because it ain't a lot of the guys that we know of. And there may need to be someone that steps into that role. Not maybe, there has to be a guy that steps into that role. So that needs to be decided now. And
correct.
Yeah. The rest will fall into place.
I mean, kind of similar with the whole Tyson Walker thing, who's going to stop the bleeding if the other team goes on a run? Who's your guy that you're just going to dump it into the low block and he's going to get you that bucket? Because I say what you will about Malik Hall, obviously very up and down career. He was the guy for you last year, though. It's you need 2 points in the worst way, drop it down to him. Right now, it could be Jackson Kohler. Of course, he has the footwork. You hear a lot of great things about him in the offseason. Got to actually see it. And you start seeing it against teams like Ferris State. So, but John, a great point was that you need to score more than 70. This isn't going to be a weird game with a whole bunch of pageantry around Izzo. You're not playing in a football stadium. You are playing at home at the Breslin Center against a Division II team. Mm-hmm. I know you're replacing 40 points combined, I believe it is, with AJ, Malik Hall, and Tyson Walker all leaving. If they don't do it, it's not the end of the season, but you got to start seeing it very soon. And I also wouldn't mind seeing Jaden Akins look just tangibly reliable against a Division II team. I'm sorry for panicking this early about Akins, but we've seen his whole career, haven't we? He's tremendously up and down. Spain didn't go great. It was until their second city they visited until he made a field goal, and then the UP didn't look much better either.
I'll tell you,
I can't be doing this in the preseason. I can't.
Here, let's just manage everybody's expectations out of the game.
Please do.
Jaden Akins is who he is. It's just it. We already know. If you're expecting this to go to 15 points a game because he has the ball in his hand more, the only way that changes if he starts learning how to get fouled. He doesn't know how to get fouled. He never takes the basket, does not look for contact. Until that happens, he ain't going to score any more points. Fears can get him the ball, sure, in the corner, and we can do that, but we've been doing that. Okay, so he needs to figure out a way to score in different ways, and you're going to have to go score with contact. Tyson Walker was fantastic at it. You need someone needs to be able to do that. And if it's not him, then we need to stop trying to make fetch happen and turn to somebody else and just hand it over because it ain't happening. And by the way, if Jaden Akins is going to no-show, and if that happens, we also don't need to play him during winning time. I'm going to tell you right now, we haven't started the season, and I'm having the conversation.
Isn't this great? We're having a great time before. Monmouth hasn't even made their bus plans yet to get over here, and we're already doing this.
We're already telling people they're benched. I love it.
This is great. Oh, I cannot. You know what? I got to say, I was a little indifferent about basketball season starting soon. Now I'm ready. Now I'm fired up.
Hey,
now I'm going to jam my credit card into my laptop for the $10 for Big Ten Plus tonight. I cannot wait.
Hey, here's one last thing to look for. Kurtang, Jace Richardson, I think they will be contributors this year. I think that they are going to be a lot of fun and very easy to root for. And I think one thing that our fan base needs is people that are a little easier to root for. And we got a couple. So, strap in for at least, guys that you can feel pretty good about.
If not for nothing else, guys, you're not going to scream at every single TV timeout of every single game next year.
Exactly.
So, not saying what happened here and there, but not every single one. So, anyway, good luck to the Vanderbilt Commodores this upcoming season. All right, folks.
And the Cal Bears.
But he's such a nice kid, though.
Yeah, well.
God, if my kids even grow up to a quarter of what he was, that successful parenting right there. Just a great guy.
Fair enough.
I have to say that whenever we talk about him, but yeah. Hey, better things ahead. Maybe.
That's right.
Who's to say? All right, guys, that's John Kirby over there of the Only Podcast doing fantastic work with Austin Smith. And you know what this is. This is Locked On Spartans. This was another long episode. Mr. Locked On is going to write a strongly worded all caps email to me saying, ooh, just cut down on the time, you idiot. So, but hey, you know what? Until then, we will see you tomorrow, guys. Love you all. Go Green.
Go White.